that's kind of how I see looking for a missing person. It's like you get closer and closer and closer until it matches, click, like, and you have that click moment where it is actually him. Well, I can tell you the last time I saw him, and I think that was within 2 or 3 days of him disappearing. But I was having a game of chess with him, because we often play chess. And for once, I was actually beating him. And it was a magnetic chessboard, like the type that you play yourself, because it's a computer chess thing, you know, Kasparov or whatever it's called. And he said, all right, we'll leave that on hold. And I always wish that I just left that chessboard on hold, but you know, eventually it just got cleared and reset. But anyway, that was the last time I saw him, and that was July 2003. But before that time, I'd actually found him twice before, and also at the time I was an aspiring filmmaker. I'd just done a degree in filmmaking at university, and every time I went looking for him, I would pack my camera kit and microphones and stuff and sort of make a short film out of the adventure of finding him. So when he went off again, I sort of welcomed it. I was like, cool, like, it's going to be more content for the film. You know, I didn't think that I would not be able to find him. I just presumed I'd find him like the other times.
So this was the third time that your brother went missing, was in 2003.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first and the second time.
So the first time, this is, I don't want to get into trouble for this, but the first time I actually felt slightly responsible for him disappearing because, okay, so when I was like 13, he introduced me to a certain type of mushroom called the Liberty Cap that grows in Richmond. Well, it goes all over the UK at a certain time of year. And it was just extraordinary discovery to have this sort of source of magic coming from the earth. Anyway, he introduced that to me. He's my older brother, right? 7 years, like 6 or 7 years older than me. He's born in 71. Anyway, around this time that he disappeared the first time, I had given him some of these shrooms, like some of these mushrooms. So I was like, I need to fix what's happened here. So he disappeared, and I was like, shit, because I felt like partly it was like my fault because of the mushrooms. Somehow we discovered that he was like on the streets in Glasgow. So I went up all the way to Glasgow and ended up having to go into like these homeless shelters that was just like terrifying, like literally like just like sort of like barred cells and just like people just running, you know, and like smacking their head and screaming, like just, it was just like terrifying. Like,
how did you discover that he was there?
I think he'd managed to get in touch on the phone or something, and I had to find, it was in this really random bit of Glasgow. So then he came back, that was about 2002, I guess, and then 2003, he disappeared. And I was in New York at the time for about 3 months, and so he was gone for about a month, and my parents were freaking out, going, "Can you help? He's disappeared." So I wrote an email to him he had a Hotmail account. And at the end, I signed, one of my friends in New York, this guy called Andre, he used to have this cap and it said, "Jesus is my homeboy" on it, right? And because my brother's into like really deeply into God and Jesus and just religion essentially, I signed it off with like, "Jesus is my homeboy," yeah? Just like P.S. Jesus my... And that, because I'd written that, sparked him to reply. Because if I hadn't written that, he would not have replied. He would just be like, "No." So then he let me know where he was, which is this shrine to, it's, you know, like you get Lourdes, you get Fatima, you get these places where the Santa Maria has appeared. So Medjugorje is in Bosnia, and it's a place where this had happened in the 80s. These like kids were in the mountains, they all came back like really sort of excited, a bit scared, but they'd seen this apparition. And since then, it's become like Disneyland for Christians, you know, like this pilgrimage site. So you have these truckloads of Christians from all over the world coming to feel the, you know, the energy of the place because she's appeared there. So it becomes like these like holy sites essentially, and that's where he'd gone. So he'd been living there pretty much on nothing, just his benefits that were coming into his account, and he's amongst people that are interested in what he's interested in, which is, you know, God and all the rest of it. Part of me just thought I should just leave him be, you know, let him be there. Why not? You know, he's old enough, responsible enough, but he has this label of mental illness from the doctors in the UK, which enable my sort of parents to create that worry and that concern about him just being out in the world, you know, because they're just concerned for him. So, but I was in two minds about bringing him back, but my mum was really on at me. She's like, get him back. I've got him back in May 2003. And then in July 2003 is when he went. And yeah, and that's the last time. That's the last time I saw him. The note, yeah.
He left a note when
yeah.
he left. What did it say?
He said, I'm going away for some time, and I don't know when I shall be coming back. That's what he said.
Where did you leave that?
He left it on the table downstairs in our family home in Brentford. He left it on like I think it was the outside table, like underneath a stone. It was like a bit of a notepad like that, like ripped out of a notepad. We still got that note somewhere.
July 2003.
Yeah.
He goes missing for the third time.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
As I said, because I found him twice before, quite recent to that, I just thought I'll just go and find him again. And also, it's like gives me an excuse to sort of have a bit of a travel at the same time, because they're quite like nice places that he goes to, like Tuscany and Assisi. 3 or 4 days after he disappeared was the €200 cash transaction at a cash point in Ancona. I knew exactly what that meant. It meant that he's gone to get the boat to go to Croatia, then to go back to Medjugorje. Like, that's what I presumed, you know. There's a TV program in Italy called Che l'ho visto, and it means have you seen them? And it's like on prime time TV. And so this crew, this broadcast crew, were following us on our searches. So it was all being televised. And also, you know, all of a sudden his face was being broadcast on primetime TV all over Italy. So the sightings started to come, you know, in. But often people just want to be on TV, you know, so they'll want to have seen him just so they can get a bit of, you know, exposure. And so one of the tricks I used to do to see if people were being genuine or not is I go, is he tall? Yeah, like that, to suggest that he's tall. And they go, yeah, he's molto grande. He's like, I mean, all right, that's not him. You see, he was always a little bit small, like he was sort of picked on at school for being a bit small. There was one Franciscan monk that was the best and most accurate sighting I ever got of my brother, and he had seen him 2 weeks before. So I was only 2 weeks behind my brother. So now I'm like 22 years behind him. But then I was 2 weeks behind. So geographically, if you imagine that he's only travelling by bus and train or walking, so that's 2 weeks. He's not that far away. So I was pretty close to him. I remember it to be about early October. So to be 2 weeks behind him was quite, for me, a real accomplishment, because I was like, it's possible that I could find him. But also what was happening is because I was having to go to all these like monasteries and staying in monasteries and sort of getting absorbed by the sort of the power of this faith, you know, is sort of rubbing off on me, and like really incredible things like have happened to me, like in the search for him. I was in this church, and I was sort of by myself, and I looked up at the statue of St. Francis, and I swear down, the statue moved to me like that and went like, you know, as if to like beckon me, and I was like looking around to see if anyone else was around. I was like, is that like some technology or something? I was just freaking out because I swear to God this happened to me. And apparently this is a thing in Ireland. This happens quite a lot. Talking statues, they call it. As soon as I start to research it turns out it's not just me that's happened to. So weird little things like this would happen to me on my searches, you know, for Tom. That was 2003, yeah. And it got to Christmas, and then it just started to seem a bit sad, you know. It's like, oh shit, we're about to go into Christmas, and it was really cold out there as well. Like, you're just imagining like him out wherever he is, possibly on the streets or in, I don't know. So yeah, and then it would be the first Christmas that without him, and that was the first Christmas without him, back in 2003. And then yeah, I just carried on searching for like. So it was like my job. I just treated it like a job, you know, every day. Just dedicated to looking for Tom. Yeah.
So then after that Christmas, when the next year starts, and you say it's like a job, are you constantly going back and forth to Italy?
I've been to Italy like loads of times. I must have been to Bosnia like 3 or 4 times. Because there would be sightings in the south of Italy, like Naples and Napoli, and like Rome. Went to Rome a lot of times. There's sightings in Rome.
These were actual sightings?
Well, it would be like, oh, we think we've seen him, and there's a photo, and you're like, but the photos would often be like too blurry or whatever, so you'd be like, yeah, it could be him, and follow it up.
How do you go about looking for him in a city like Rome? Such a big place. If you've seen just a blurry photo,
yeah,
you fly there and just walk around the city and hope to bump into it.
So what would happen is that often the TV company would be involved, so they would pay for everything, and they would use their infrastructure of people that they use to find people. So they got like, they're in with like the police and the Carabinieri, and the people like the City Angels, who's like a charitable organisation that helps look after homeless people. So like people like that would really understand where the city, you know, the infrastructure that they had. So that was super helpful, you know, because without them, it would be very difficult, you know, without all that support and, you know, just people being able to drive you places. But the trade-off was that they were always filming and, you know, making their programme.
What was the last actual sighting, or last time you thought you were close to finding him?
Close. In 2013, I thought, God, it's 10 years now since he's disappeared, and I really need to do something about it. And so I was like, that's when I built the website and created a charitable fund called the Missing Tom Fund, so people could donate to because, you know, looking for him without the support of the TV is very costly, you know, because the TV support was only really in Italy. So if there's a sighting in, say, Germany, you're sort of on your own because there's no program like that in Germany. So I set up this fund, and I did this art exhibition at the Saatchi Gallery called Art Wars, and all these artists donated, I give them stormtrooper helmets and they turn it into art. And it was a huge success. It went viral on the internet and sold out and made a lot of money. But not only did it make money for us to be able to do the search, but it also created a lot of exposure around Tom. So his face was being seen a lot in publicity. So this is what really started to get my head working about how to, because the way to find someone, right, is you just generate as much publicity around that face as possible. So you want that face to be seen by as many people as possible, in as many newspapers, on TV, and then that's what triggers the sighting. You know, it's like, oh my God, I've seen that guy. And so I started to figure out ways of being able to do that. For example, I got Pete Doherty on board to take part in this art exhibition. And basically, it went wild. It went on the front page of the Enemy website. It got picked up by, because it was a very controversial piece of art. It was my friend Nick Reynolds had him crucified as Jesus. And we had this, basically, a crucified Pete Doherty levitating in St. Marylebone Parish Church. And that created a huge amount of controversy, because you had some parishioners who were like, this is blasphemous. It's Pete Doherty in our church. And then other people who thought it was great. And it was all around Easter time, so it was very topical. Anyway, it created loads of media. And what was really good, it was on Sky News, it was just went viral in terms of news publicity. And what was great about it, it showed my brother's face. And the sightings on the email address of Missing Tom, just pouring in, like 200 sightings a day. I think I've seen him. Yeah, and most of it, you just sift through it, and you can just very quickly make a short list of the actual good stuff. And so I started to realise that this is how to find Tom. It's just the power of celebrity. One of the stunts that I pulled was, Britain's Got Talent. So the Missing People charity have this thing called the Missing People Choir. And they got right to the last round of Britain's Got Talent, and it's just like a lot of people with missing loved ones who joined the choir, who made a choir. I got a bit frustrated though, because it's like, hold on, there's loads of publicity and attention for the choir, but what about actually the missing people? So I said, well, come on, let's use this as a platform, and I made it so all the pictures of missing people were getting projected on the screen behind the choir on Britain's Got Talent. So you can imagine how many millions of people are tuning in to watch this thing, because it actually won the entire thing. And just by coincidence, there was a sighting at the same time in Italy, but it wasn't linked to the Britain's Got Talent. But the way I leaked it to the world was that this is going out on Britain's Got Talent, and there's been a sighting. And because I'd made that connection, that's what created loads of press. So all of a sudden I had ITV, Breakfast TV people calling me up to get me a chauffeur-driven car to go and be on the sofa, on Breakfast TV. And it's that kind of thing. Like, if you get on that sofa and you can start getting your brother's face onto those screens, things start happening. You know what's funny as well is that one of my brother's favourite films was Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. And it sort of reminds me a little bit like that. It's a bit of a cat and mouse, but part of what drives me to look for him is just because I'd just be fascinated to hear his story of what has happened. I mean, I've just got no idea. I don't know if it's been good, bad. Does he have a family? Is he still? I mean, I think he's still alive, to be honest, because it's quite difficult to die. To be fair, I'd say it's more difficult to die than it is to stay alive. There's just something in humans that just keeps you alive, like no matter how, unless of course you get hit by a car or someone does you over or whatever. But yeah, I like to think that he's definitely still alive. Yeah. So at one point the police got in touch, and they said there's a corpse, there's a dead body. And the police have it on record that his name is your brother's name, Thomas Moore. And they told me this on the Friday evening. They said, do you mind coming in on Monday to identify, just to see if it is him? This is about 2018 now. And that was a really, hard weekend for me, because I wanted to tell my parents, but I just just wait till Monday until you've looked at the picture, because I just really didn't know if it was going to be him or not. It was actually found in Italy, the body. So I literally had to get through the weekend thinking, shit, am I about to see my brother's face when I look at this photo on Monday, at the police station. And I went in there, and to my absolute relief, I looked at it and just could tell straight away that's not him. There's one in Italy during lockdown. Me and my nephew Theo, because he's fascinated by Tom as well. He's never met Tom, and he was just really up for the adventure of because we both believed that it was going to be Tom. But yeah, we went out there and found the guy that they thought was Tom, and it wasn't Tom. So that was 2020.
Now it's been 22 years.
Yeah.
What keeps you going?
Obviously, I want to find my brother, most of all for my parents, because I want to find him before they leave this planet. Because I think that would just be that's really my driving force. That's one of the things that keeps me going the most.
I think you've done a lot more than just search for your brother. Like, awareness, I think you must have raised, and you've probably helped other people find missing people. Yeah. Through this journey.
Thanks, dude.
Talk about that.
I think you're right. And definitely like being so involved with the charity as well. I mean, I ran the marathon for them twice now, the London Marathon. Just being part of a community of people that have also got missing. I mean, I know Madeleine McCann's parents really well because of all the events that we go to, and auctions and charity auctions and gala dinners. There's this incredible painting that this artist, quite famous artist called Riccardo Cinelli, he did it of my brother, and it sits in my room, and I see it every day, and it's I mean, I can send you a picture of it, but it's quite and so I find myself looking at that quite a lot. And then sometimes I have a dream about him. And that is nuts, because you have a dream about him and you wake up and think, oh my God, like Tom's back. Like you just want to get up and go and talk to him, and then all of a sudden, as your waking mind wakes up a bit more, it starts to realise that was a dream. But it's always incredible to see him in a dream, because I hug him and I can smell him. Like, it's so real. Like the sensory feeling of him is so real that it actually makes me think that's the sort of thing that makes me think he is still alive. Because it's almost like I've really, really hugged him, like in reality. That's how it feels. I get a bit pissed off with my sister sometimes. She often says, oh, I'm sure he's dead. I'm like, don't say that. You keep him alive by believing he's alive. If you invest into the bank of negative thought, then that's not helping him survive. You keep him alive through faith that he is still alive. So we often get into a bit of a tangle about that.
What advice would you give to someone who's just had a loved one go missing?
Oh gosh, my advice: if they just disappear, like randomly, like no note, no warning, just suspiciously, disappear, then the first 24 hours are key, and then you just got to go hook, line, and sinker, just scream it from the rooftops. But you got to keep calm. I have a mantra: is professional, not emotional. So when you got to be calm like that, because if you start getting too emotional and panicky, you're not going to be able to get your message out. So you need to get straight, get as much eyes on it as possible. So get it in the news, get it on, as much publicity as possible within the first 24 hours. That's key. If you are in that situation, they have written a note, just thank God that it's not the other one where they've just disappeared. At least you've got a thread to follow.
What's next for you and for the search for Tom?
I mean, I've become quite philosophical about it in some ways. I'm like kind of at peace with it in some ways, but the momentum of always wanting to find him before my parents leave the planet is on my shoulders. I guess it's kind of a bit like fishing. Like you have to have a few rods in the water, and then there's a bite, and then you follow the bite.
Finally.
Yeah.
If you could speak to Tom,
yeah,
or if he was watching this right now,
yeah,
what would you want to say to him?
Gosh. I would say, like, if you're safe and happy and well, there's no need for you to come home, because you've earned that place. You've done that yourself. You've created that situation yourself, and you should hold on to that. But you should just send us a sign, like a signal. And if you're not safe and happy and well, and you're suffering, then I am still looking for you. So don't give up on me. That's what I'd say.